Good morning, everyone. I say good morning, everyone. There we are. I'm so glad to be with you today. I'm Jackie Lewis. As Will told you, my pronouns are she, her, hers. And for the visiting ones, Will and I are on the same staff. And we serve as collegiate ministers in the collegiate church, one church with 4 campuses. He says he's taught me, and I've taught him, and we've taught each other. He has queered me, my friend Will, one of my many friends who've pushed me past binaries to more open spaces to navigate gender and sexuality. And I'm honored to be in your pulpit today, bringing you greetings from our chair, Vicki Burns, from all the folks down at Middle Church who are worshiping in East End Temple this morning, but some of them cheating by being with you online today as well. So this is one of my favorite scriptures, Steve, that you read. It's the kind that would put me and Will out of business, so to speak. Our preaching professor, Fred Craddock, said, some texts you just read and say amen and sit down. It feels like that kind of text, but that's not what Will asked me to do, so I'll go ahead and say some things. The Message version from Eugene Peters is even more poetic than the version that Steve read today from the NRSV, which is my favorite. But by the time we get to the end of the text, the Message version is almost like a prophetic poem. It says, if you get rid of unfair practices, quit blaming victims, quit gossiping about other people's sins. If you are generous with the hungry and start giving yourselves to the down and out, your lives will begin to glow in the darkness. Your shadowed lives will be bathed in sunlight. I, God, will always show you where to go. I'll give you a full life in the emptiest of places, firm muscles, strong bones. Hear that poetry, Stephen? You'll be like a well-watered garden, a gurgling spring that never runs dry. You'll use the old rubble of past lives to build anew. Rebuild the foundations from out of your past. You'll be known as those who can fix anything, restore old ruins, rebuild and renovate, make the community livable again. We'll have our names changed, Isaiah says. If we change our ways, if we remember who we are and whose we are, we will be called repairers of the brokenness and restorers of the streets to live in. Will you pray with me? I told Jesus it would be all right if he changed my name. I told Jesus it would be all right if he changed my name. I told Jesus it would be all right, be all right, be all right. I told Jesus it would be all right if he changed my name. Make no mistake about it, we are living in hot mess times. We live our lives in the midst of so much brokenness, we can, I can, you can hardly breathe. Broken and failing infrastructures, a broken economy that works only for some of us, gas prices rising, and any investments that we have disappearing. Broken safety nets for the most vulnerable, broken civility in which conflict and difference can no longer be discussed. Instead, We demonize our opponents. In a world of word wars that lead to beatdowns with hammers or shootouts with guns. A broken government, not even close to the lofty vision of the founders, who, P.S. by the way, were blind to their own biases being built into it. You and I know only too well a legacy of stolen land being developed by stolen bodies. What was a wall between church and state is now a giant breach. It's such a cavernous breach that a minority of Christian evangelicals can dictate to the nation, to Jews, Muslims, Buddhists, Unitarians, agnostics, atheists, Zoroastrians. Well, what's a Zoroastrian? Even we try to tell those folks, and when I say we, I mean the church, because we can't say it's not us, it is the church, that tries to tell those folks what they should do about gay, about trans, about race, about abortion, actually abusing their First Amendment rights in the name of a nation state that has gone rogue with broken religion. Our founders did not want a state religion, but sadly, we are beginning to have one. It's not the one that you and I practice. That's not what it is. But there is a rising up of a religion that I'm going to call Christofascism and ask you to stay with me. Don't get mad yet. An unholy marriage between white supremacy and Christian hegemony is the rapidly growing religion in our nation. Its leader is not the Pope, it's not the head of the RCA, and it's not the UCC, but Donald Trump was anointed leader, and it's not just him, so don't think this is a sermon about Trump. There is a way in which some of us as Christians have abdicated our responsibility to be the people of God, to become the people of the new religion, in which the promised land is for rich, white, straight, intolerant, mean, bigoted, selfish, greedy, homophobic, transphobic, anti-Semitic, anti-women, anti-immigration, anti-science, anti-labor, anti-justice, petty, small, anti-love, y'all. People. MAGA, Make America Great Again, is misspelled. It should be M-A-A-G-A, Make America Against God. What do I mean by that? Disclaimer number one, my brothers are Republicans, 2 of them. My father voted Republican in like 4 elections. This is not an anti-Republican talk. This is a talk about who we want to be. What kind of church do we want to be? Here in this text is what I understand to be an extremely important explanation for why we are here today. Isaiah is writing to people in exile, post-exile maybe, Julia, but exiled folks who were beaten, defeated, captured, castigated, cast out, sent out, put out of their homeland. No more temple, no more figs on the vine, no more olives in the groves, just out of home, houseless people who in Babylon had to learn how to survive. In Babylon, they had to let go of their religious rites. They had to let go of their fasting and feasting. They had to let go of the rituals that grounded them. They had to learn how to sing King Alpha's song, their God's song, in a strange land. They were not who they used to be. And they began to syncretize. They began to intermarry. They began to look at their neighbors and say, well, heck, this works for them. And they changed. And when they got back home, when they got back to their homeland, when they got back home to Israel, Isaiah says in the text that Steve read, they picked up the rituals again. The Jewish people have so many holidays in the fall, it's hard to count them. Do you know that from your Jewish friends? Crazy amounts of holidays. So they went back home and they began to pick up the rituals, put back on the vestiges of their religion. This is what we do. This is how we fast. This is how we feast. But Isaiah is saying, but y'all didn't get back to the heart space. You didn't get back to being God's people. You did the patina, you did the facade, you did some of the stuff, but you didn't go back home to you. You didn't come back home to me. Can you feel what I'm saying there? I am convinced that most of the people who've fallen into this kind of small c Christian-ish religion are not mean people, are not bad people, are not evil people. They have just been exiled from their best selves, exiled, put out of house, out of home, out of place, traumatized by the world's changing dynamic, exiled from the goodness of the faith they grew up with and sort of syncretized into something that feels like more power, feels like more safety, feels like more. When we're traumatized, we are casting about for a story that fits. When we're traumatized, we're wiggling around looking for who our people are. When we're traumatized, we tribalize and we pull in and we go into a softer space that makes us feel like we won't have to take as many risks. I think our family that has fallen in love with the other religion, the not so kind version of Christianity, the not so open version of Christianity, the strident version of Christianity that is not new. I'm calling it Christo-fascism, but it's not new. It's the kind of Christianity that though our founders came to make a safe place for themselves, immediately looked at this place and thought, doggone it, I discovered it, I can take it. Christo-fascism. Doggone it, I need to rebuild it. I'll go get me some black people off the shores of Africa. Christo-fascism. Damn it, those Muslims won't convert like we want them to. Let's have the Crusades. Do you feel the story I'm telling? That's Christo-fascism. We are going to be so angry with the Jews who killed the Jew, named Jesus, that we end up with a Holocaust. That's what I'm talking about. We sent that kind of brittle, fearful, judgmental, you're not in our club Christianity. We exported it to South Africa and they called it apartheid. Right here in our nation, because we're afraid, because we've lost our way, because we're experiencing loss, we're hunkering down in some ways that I'm not proud of. Are you? Deep down in our souls, the ones who are the most afraid, the ones who are making the most demands, the ones who are banning the books, the ones who are saying no to trans kids, having surgery so they can live their lives, the ones who are saying horrible things about women who need to have abortions, the ones who know Black Lives Matter but are still feeling threatened. They're feeling threatened because change is happening. It is true that America's changing. It is fact that America's browner. We speak more Spanish. It's true that the economy's different. It's true that if one felt centered because one was white and straight and male, there's just not as much white, male, straight power. Hello? So there's grief. You feel me? And the grief can cause the anger, and the anger can cause the rage, and the white rage is dangerous. The white rage is dangerous, y'all. I'm Black, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm an African-American woman preaching in this pulpit today. And I cannot pretend that white rage didn't dance with Protestant Christianity and cause the Klan. White rage had white people taking their kids out after church, like we're gonna go have fellowship, and they went outside and watched lynchings. White rage is a danger to you and to me. White rage is a danger to white people. White people who want to live in a world of justice and peace and kindness and love and equity are in danger when white rage shapes our politic and shapes our faith. Are you with me? It's okay if you're not. I'm going to bring you though. I'm often on the Nice White People tour, Will. And when I'm on the Nice White People tour, I get asked to go to places in South Carolina and Michigan and California and stuff. And they'll say, Jackie, come talk to us about racism. And I go, why me? Because my posture is this: we can't do this without each other. That's why the Nice White tour calls me to come. I'm not calling anybody a white supremacist. I'm saying we've got to defeat white supremacy. I'm not calling you a fascist. I'm saying we don't want to be a fascist nation. That didn't actually work in the past. I'm not trying to accuse us of anything. I'm trying to remind us, like Isaiah is reminding us, of who we are and whose we are. And the truth of the matter is, when we're frightened, when we feel devastated, when we feel grief, our behavior can change because we are, in fact, only human. And we, like Israel, are always looking for God to save us. And God is the God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Leah, Rachel, Mary. But when that God doesn't feel present, we, like humankind across the millennia, will sometimes find another God. It might be a golden calf. It might be our bank account. It might be our faith. It might be our fear. It might be anything that we've told makes us better than our neighbor because it makes us feel safe. All I want to say this morning, what I want to say this morning is that we are the people responsible to bear God's lofty vision for the world in our lives of faith, at work, in the classroom, at the dinner table at Thanksgiving. Oh my goodness, don't you get afraid of the dinner table at Thanksgiving? I do. Bad things can happen at the dinner table at Thanksgiving. We'll be there in all our hope and joy and love of each other and people, in all of our faithful commitment to God's vision, Isaiah's articulated vision for a world in which our feasting and fasting and worship feeds the hungry, clothes the naked, shares our resources, welcomes our kin, which, by the way, is everybody, into our house. This vision, this dream that is Jesus's dream, that is our dream, we'll be sitting at the table with the turkey, and Aunt Sally's going to say something like, well, I don't think there's room for them in our country. And we'll forget that we're all immigrants. Uncle Bob is my Uncle Bob, who usually say something like, if they didn't talk about sex all the time, our kids wouldn't be queer. As opposed to understanding the science that our sexuality and gender are hardwired in and a gift from God. It'll be, great Aunt Myrtle who'll say, if they would only pull up their selves from the bootstraps, the economy would be different. And forget that she was a poor potato farmer who was helped to become a wealthy American. And it might be your best friend from high school who reminds you that you used to, whatever it is you used to do, that I used to do, that we're not quite proud of. And don't be judgmental because you're imperfect. And our job at that dinner table will be to say, I know I'm not perfect, but I know I'm a child of God, and I know I belong to the vision of God's healing and making the world better, and I'm the one I've been waiting for, because we are the ones we've been waiting for, to be the hands, feet, and soul of God in the world, imperfect but changing, broken but healing, making mistakes but trying, just trying to love the hell out of the world. Downtown at Middle Church, we are placeless. And we are struggling to be who God called us to be. And a whole collegiate church is in transition. And we are all wondering what God has next for us. And here's what Isaiah says. If we will love our neighbor hard, if we will open the door to the stranger, if we will feed the hungry and clothe the naked, if we will welcome all the people, no matter who they love and no matter how they look, even the people who wear red hats, y'all, if we will welcome all the people, then we will be like a well-watered garden, gurgling spring. Our light will shine like the dawn. We will say to God, hey, God, where are you? And God will say, here I am. If we will remember that we who are traumatized by these last years on the planet, including a pandemic that is now an endemic that won't go away, if we will find our faith and face the one who created us exactly as we are, but wants us to be the best we can be, then we will have our names changed. We will be called repairers of the broken places and restorers of the good places to live in. We will rebuild not only Middle Church, not only the collegiate church, but we will build America, making it godly again. And we will make the world see love as a public ethic that can change and heal all of us. I told Jesus it'd be all right if he'll change my name. I want Jesus back. And I want us to be the hands and feet of the living Christ. With love at the center of our politic and our faith. Amen.